Welcome to episode 736 of Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I am sharing true paranormal stories from the web. To find all episodes of the show, social media, other ways to listen, and ways to support the show, you can find all of that, along with all the episodes of the show, over at the new website, which is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And special thanks to Michael Strange for setting that up for me. And you can also find links to the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, over there as well. So definitely recommend checking that out. So we are on still sharing these true paranormal stories on the web here. So we get back to those. And just got to get back to my document here. And these are some of my favorite episodes to do. These and then listener experiences, which are more rare because you have to get someone that wants to join you on the show to do it. But these true stories, finding and sharing these true stories, to me is one of my favorite things to do on this show. So that's why there's been other things that I've started before, such as Haunted Places in the U.S. and then various other book reviews and things like that over long series of shows, and I'm glad I did those. But when I had to sort of restructure the show, I knew these true paranormal stories to the web type of shows, these were not going anywhere because they're a big part of why I want to do the show. This one says, my wife and I took our daughters to watch a band in a park. During the first song, I felt like time was slowing down, almost to a halt. And then it started back up again. My wife was recording the performance on her phone and also experienced the same phenomenon. We both turned to each other and said, "What was that?" at the same time. We reviewed the video and noticed a blip, possibly an audio anomaly, at the exact time we felt time slowing down. There was also a quick flash of light at the same time. This experience has been bothering me since October. Can anyone explain this? And that's where that one ends. And that one to me is amazing because I had a weird similar experience, although not with possible evidence of it, but something similar. A couple, I don't know, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. Anyway, a number of years ago, where I was sitting here in my chair in front of my computer listening to a podcast, and I sort of went into a trance or dozed off or both or something, and the sound literally it stuck. It got stuck at a certain note. It all sort of stopped at a certain note of music in the show, I believe. And I just knew that time was not right, that I shouldn't be hearing things that way. And everything felt strange. And then everything started to return to normal. The sound continued on and at normal speed. And I came out of that trance or doze or daze or whatever I was in. But and I still have no idea how to explain that. Was there, again, I mean, I have no idea. Are there things in the universe, energies or things like that can cause time to do that in random times and places? I have no idea, but and I know I've been saying that a lot. But this account here, it was videotaped and recorded on the phone, and when it happened, which it's amazing that even happened. And I find also it's amazing that not only was there a weird sound on the recording, but there was also a flash of light And I that to me sort of hints at there being something going on in that space, in that time, that that was just anomalous, that can't easily be explained. But I just wonder how many times this has happened to other people throughout history, where, and you hear that with sort of when you're falling or when something terrible is happening, time slows down. But I think that's a different type of that. I don't know if that's the same thing. I don't know that it's not, but in the case in this account that I found online, and then in my case, nothing was happening. I was just sitting here listening to things. So I don't know, but I really wanted to share that one because it was sort of similar to one of my own experiences, and I always think that's amazing when I can find something like that, because it just, to me, that's sort of confirmation that I'm not alone, and that's a big purpose of doing these shows, is to show people that no matter how weird you think your experience was, you are probably not alone when it comes to having that experience. There's probably someone out there somewhere that has had something similar, or even in some cases, the exact same thing happen. It's just a matter of connecting the dots and connecting the people, and that's why I do this show, to do that as much as I possibly can. So, the light. I wonder what happened, or what caused what. In other words, was the light a sign of what happened? Did it somehow, wasn't an energy, I don't know, transfer or burst that caused the time to distort, or was the light a byproduct of it? Somehow energy being released, or I don't know with that one, but that's neat. That's amazing that was caught on a recording, and there was a visual and audio anomaly, along with what the people there were experiencing at the same time. You have basically confirmation through devices and through people. So I thought that was amazing. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, let me scroll down. There we go. My friend and I were driving down a highway and noticed a few construction workers on the shoulder. One of the workers was walking at an inhumanly fast pace, like someone had fast forwarded a video. The fast walking lasted only for a couple of seconds, and then the worker returned to normal speed. None of the other construction workers were affected and were walking in a normal pace. At first, I thought it might have been a trick of my eyes, but my friend also saw the worker walking fast. This incident happened after I had been driving for a couple of hours, which might have contributed to my initial skepticism. I'm not sure if the incident was paranormal, but I thought it was unusual enough to share. And that's where that one ends. Now, with these, when I find these accounts, these stories, these two stories here, I don't put them in any order beforehand when I share them on these shows. They are placed in the order that I found them. So here we have another possible true story about people witnessing, I don't know, some kind of time distortion again. Doesn't sound like the worker that was moving at that speed. I wonder if they even noticed anything, or if it was something that was happening more to the people in the car that was passing by than it was happening to the construction worker themselves. I'd really be curious to know that. There's no way to know that. But did the construction worker feel anything weird at the time? Did they maybe, were they distracted and they sort of again, I don't know, move through reality faster than they should have without even realizing it. It reminds me in a way of what I wonder what happened with that. The same way I wonder what happened with me many years ago, where I was walking to this restaurant that I used to always meet my family at once a week for lunch, and it's not there anymore now. It closed down and it's a different place now. But I always took the same route to get there, the same streets and everything. And this one day I walked there and I had it timed down. Excuse me. I had the it always took me 10 to 15 minutes. That was always the time range it took me to get there. Never less, never more. And it would just depend on the amount of traffic or whatever that was going down the streets or whatever through the alley that I took to get there. This one day I was walking and I went into this sort of, I don't know, daze or trance or whatever as I was walking. And when I came out of it, I was almost there. Excuse me. And I got in the restaurant and sat down. And I thought, oh, I probably made it here just in time. And I checked my phone, and only 5 minutes had passed since I had left my apartment. And to this day, I wonder, did anyone see me walking? Did anyone see anything weird happen while I was walking? Would I have appeared in that same way as someone moving extremely fast to anyone that happened to notice me walking to this restaurant? And I don't walk extremely fast because I'm legally blind and I have a cane. And walking really fast with a cane, when you're using it to find all the bumps and steps and steps up and steps down and everything, that's not going to go well. It's going to get stuck in a crack and it's going to make you stumble. So, or at least it can. And so I don't walk fast when I'm walking anywhere. And so yeah, I don't know. I wonder if this was a similar thing, or not. And there's no way to know. But I do think there are time anomalies, almost maybe as often as there are anything else, apparitions of spirits or other entities showing up, UFOs, cryptids, whatever. I think time is another aspect of all this that can work in weird ways that we don't even always notice. And in cases like this, I mean, I've shared my experience. This person shared their experience online. But I wonder how many of these accounts or I wonder how many of these accounts are just kept to the people that have them. These experiences, people just don't think that what they experience is possible, so they don't ever want to share it with anyone. So, amazing that we had two of these kinds of stories, one right after the other, and of something that is not just a traditional ghost or UFO story, as far as the more common types of those. So, moving on to the next one here. All right. This one says, I had trouble falling asleep and was lying in bed around 2:45 a.m. when I started hearing my kitchen cupboards opening and closing. At first, I thought it might be an intruder and got up to investigate, but I didn't find anyone. After searching the house and not finding anything, I went back to bed around 3 a.m. When I got back into bed, I noticed that the light in my room had been turned back on, and the cupboards started making noise again. I am a logical person, but this experience was unsettling, and I can't find a rational explanation for what was happening. It was a frightening experience, and I don't know what to make of it. And that's where that one ends. I'm wondering about the history of the location, their home. I also wonder nowadays, I didn't used to think of this. I always sort of, when I first started getting into these topics, I thought that anything that happens in a house or a building is probably a ghost. Anything that happens out in the woods is probably a creature or cryptid of some kind. Anything that's seen in the sky is a UFO. It's an alien, probably. I don't think that way anymore, just because there seem to be overlapping features of all those things with each other. I wonder if there was some kind of a time anomaly going on there with someone going through their everyday life and having those sounds and that light being turned back on just happening at the same time as the writer that was trying to sleep. And I'm wondering now too. So I've heard of people having effects on devices, on lights and things where they'll turn off or turn on. It's more common for them to turn off, but to where people can't wear watches or if they get anywhere near a computer, it won't work. It's basically, people giving off more energy than you would think is normal. I wonder if the energy, if it can affect lights, if it can affect devices, can it also affect physical objects around the person? To where even though they're not in the same room, those kitchen cupboard doors are opening and closing. I don't know. Maybe that's a possibility, but I have no idea. Of course, there's also the possibility that the cupboards themselves, but then it seems unlikely that's a residual because they happened sort of on cue when the person laid back down again. So there have been a couple of times over the years where I found a light on in a room in my apartment that I know I didn't leave on, and I can't really explain those for sure, but yeah, that's a lot going on there. I hope that everything calmed down for that person and nothing else really happened. So, but I think we have enough time to get one more in here before we stop for this show. So we'll do that. And save the rest for another time. This says, I am from New Mexico, so I have heard of the legend of La Llorona, and I'm probably saying that wrong, I'm sorry. I went to a park by the river with a friend at night, despite knowing better due to the legend. The park is located on the other side of a highway, with the playground and parking lot situated directly on the riverbank. My friend and I arrived at the park around 10:30 p.m. and at first found it to be quiet and calm, similar to previous visits during the day. About 30 minutes later, we heard a loud wailing and a scream of "Help me" in Spanish. That sounded like it was less than 50 feet away. We were frozen in fear and saw a figure in white running into the water from underneath the overpass. We quickly decided to leave and ran across the highway instead of going back under the overpass, which we normally wouldn't do. I have not returned to the park at night since, and I don't plan to. And that's where that one ends. So, I wonder about that, if that is some of these sightings when people are aware of legends, and that is the one of the woman, the mother who I believe who trigger warning for anyone that's sensitive to these things. And far in the past, who drowned herself and her children in a river, and then was basically stuck haunting the area for who knows how long. I wonder if this apparition was connected to that at all, or if it was just a similar apparition that was repeating previous events in their own life. And it's really impossible to know. I'm guessing that she must have vanished so that the people there, if she hadn't, then I'm thinking they would have worried that she was a physical person and gone in there sort of to help her, to keep her from going into the water. But it's always weird when you have these accounts of experiences where people are thinking it's one thing, and it could be that thing, but it could also, I wonder, in some cases, if it could be something similar but not quite the same. I wonder how often one sighting gets associated with other sightings just because of how similar they are. Because if I think about it now, there are plenty of sightings of women in white, and I've done shows on this, just along the sides of roads. And then there's also, really, they're seen everywhere, just about everywhere, in buildings, outside of buildings, along roads. And in some places, there's actual accounts of how they came to be there, but in others, there's just sightings. And so I don't know if that's any of that is connected or where I was going with all that, but yeah, that's I wonder too if they didn't go towards the woman to help because they had a sense, without even realizing it, that they weren't seeing a living person. I wonder how often that happens as well. There's just this energy that's around the apparition and maybe even just around the area in general that, again, gives off or frightens anyone that's there because it feels so different from what it was before this happened. So, and you do have a road, you do have a river there, you have all these sort of these things that where these sort of figures can be seen. So, so yeah, I don't know with that, but that's all the time we have for those for sure today. We're down to less than a minute here. Please be sure to check out all the links on the webpage for all my social media. Also, and then links to the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, to listen there. You can listen to that all day, 24/7, and hear all kinds of other shows besides myself. And it's a great way to just pass the time and not have to put on any one show at a time. You can just turn that on and go from there. And I believe there is even a link right to that on my webpage. So, but also please check out every link in my episode descriptions because I always, when I have a guest, I always include their links to their own projects on the episode description, including the ones, the one I always share for Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has become a co-host of the show on Saturdays now, which I really appreciate and could not do those shows without her, I don't think. So thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.